Garen, we get asked a lot about how to build your list when it comes to email marketing. Now, I'm of the opinion that email is not a good lead generation channel, but more of a lead conversion channel. But you do have to build your list, and you do have to build your list in the right way. So, I mean, you get this question all the time on calls.
Every day.
Every day. Like, what do you tell people who are looking to build their email list?
Yeah, great question. First thing I tell them is don't buy your list, don't collect your list, don't scrape your list, don't go to third-party data sources and just find data and use that to populate your list. We'll get into that in another conversation. But what I do tell them is instead of making what is very likely going to be a large mistake by buying that type of data, take that money instead and invest it in the channels that feed a customer acquisition and that feed lead generation. And traditionally, these are going to be channels such as paid and organic search. So paid media, SEO, social as well, right? The real purpose of these channels is to create visibility and discoverability of your brand, and then hopefully have enough compelling ad or content that drives people to the website where they can then engage with whatever collection mechanisms you have in place. We will talk about the optimal sort of collection methods and different mechanisms that you can use to capture that casual as well as that high intent traffic and use that to start populating your email list. So let's talk about, once somebody comes to the website, first off, there shouldn't be a large effort. It shouldn't take a lot of sort of hunting to find the best place to subscribe, right? So the way I typically like to frame this to people is, first off, everybody should have that simple subscribe form at the very bottom of their website, homepage and all other pages that folks might traffic.
Minimum.
Yep.
Bare minimum.
And the reason you want to put this on multiple pages is, not everybody enters your website from the homepage. They could come in anywhere. They might have clicked on a product link, for example, or somebody might have forwarded them a link. So you never know where folks are going to enter, but have that mechanism there so you can capture that interest at its at the point of highest intent, right? It's marketing opportunities are moments in space and time, and we need to make sure that we have the right ecosystem in place to capture that interest in that moment of space and time. Secondly, you can't just rely on having that form at the bottom of the page simply because it relies upon both the knowledge and the intent of the visitor to go and find it, right? Most of us know to look there, but we don't always think to do so. So I like to take a page out of Retail E-commerce's book. Whether you're a B2C, whether you're a B2B brand, have that pop-up that comes right up when somebody hits the page. You don't want to hit them with it right away. Generally after they've been on the page for, 5 to 7 seconds or so, probably not too much longer than that, because think about your own behavior when you're interacting with a web page. You don't just sort of come in there and sit and stare at the screen and decide what to do next. Your mind is already working, your hand's already on the mouse or on the touchpad, and you're already sort of thinking about where to go next. So
I'm scrolling as soon as possible. I'm hitting my scroll wheel right away.
As most of us do.
Yeah.
So you want to have something that pops up fairly immediately right in their face, right? And this is effective. I know a lot of us tend to find that annoying, but a lot of annoying things work. And there's a fundamental truth in there, and that's that we as human beings, we tend to look for direction. We tend to take prescription. So if we have that form right up there, that's just asking for our email address, more people than not will likely fill that out. Right? Now let's talk about reducing the friction to encourage them to fill that out. First off, I know there are a lot of different schools on this, thought on this, and you might disagree, and if you do, I definitely want to hear about it. But I'm of the school of thought that you don't want to ask for a lot of information up front. I, more often than not, will recommend just collecting the email address, right? Keep it low friction. And the reason is, it's not just you want to make it easy, but think about where you are in the brand-customer relationship at this point in space and time, right? You're still earning their trust. They're still building their preference and their intent. And so there may be some slight reticence to subscribe if you're asking for all this data up front. They're not quite sure how you want to use this data. They might not have enough trust that you'll use it in the right way, right? So email address only. And if you are retail e-commerce or B2C, maybe you can offer an incentive. You don't always have to. B2B, there's some different tactics as well. If lead magnets work really well, free guides to checklists, those things work really well. You don't always have to give away 10%. You can always offer things like exclusive content, exclusive deals or discounts that are only available through email. So that's a really good way to collect those email addresses and provide an incentive without necessarily having to surrender
Yeah,
the margin.
It's about the bare minimum to qualify,
Correct.
right? So the great two-word answer in email, of course, is it depends.
It depends.
Right? If you're in higher education, for example, you may want more than just an email address up front, because you want people who are serious about going back to school. If you're an adult ed, or you need that information to go, hey, are they in state? Are they out of state? Things of that sort, those nuances and it's a matter of, do you collect it now? Do you collect it later?
Yep.
Right. So in a pop-up, you can't have a whole form.
You can, and I've seen it, but I don't advise it.
Yeah, in the pop-up itself. But if you're talking about someone who's been on site for a while, and you have a contact us form, things like that. I mean, again, it's about the context matters in terms of when you're collecting that information and where on the site you're collecting information and how soon you're collecting that information.
100%.
So, but like e-commerce, you just need an email address, right?
That's all it takes to start.
Just start there. And then, but if you are in, say, finance, you need more information. If you're in higher education, then the amount of information you ask for should match up to the level of decision, the level of consideration that goes into that decision.
100%. Now we're talking about sort of using sign up as a qualifying stage, right?
Yes.
Especially in B2B, higher education, finance, things of that nature. There's a cost to dealing with incoming prospects, and you want to make sure that you're spending that cost wisely on folks who are at least basically qualified. So yeah, there's definitely an argument to be said for, in such use cases, asking for a bit more of that information up front, right? But this is not the only opportunity, as you just alluded to collect any of this information. There are plenty of other opportunities to do so. Before we get into that, though, I do want to touch on something you just said, and that's, hey, the form's not the only aspect. You're absolutely right. Things like contact us forms, filling out a member profile page, creating an account, those are wonderful for people who, again, have already who have already developed that level of intent and have decided, or who make a regular commitment to go and fill out those much longer forms. And there's certainly a portion of the audience that prefers to do that. So the point is having high intent and low intent mechanisms to capture all sort of different levels of variance within any customer audience.
Yep.
There's another mechanism that we can do as well, and that's simply using things like progressive profiling. So using the initial emails and welcome programs or subsequent messages to collect additional critical data points. There's a number of ways you can do that. You can have a link in an email, click that, have it go to a profile form, have it go to a preference center, or you can ask very simple questions in email. There's some really great examples of this. Brooks Running, one of my favorite examples, right? When you sign up for email, all they ask for at that time is your email address. The very first welcome message you get, they have this wonderful grid, and they've got sort of males down one side, females down the other, and then on the cross axis, they have different types of running activities. So it might be street running, trail running, walking, casual. So with this grid system, what it means is that with a single click, by clicking on, for example, square 2, and that might be males trail running, I've just captured 2 critical data points by creating no more friction than asking the customer for a single click. But now we get into another important aspect, and that's if there's a bit of covenant. If you're collecting data from a customer, if you are asking them for this data, you must use it in a way that reflects value and relevance to the customer itself. So if I'm letting you know that I'm a male who's interested in trail running, I should have every rightful expectation that the next email I receive reflects things that are relevant to males who are interested in trail running. Right? So there's a lot of choice.
A key point there, a little quick nugget, is only ask questions to collect data you plan to use.
Correct. And that you have a strategy and plan to use.
Because if you just collect a whole bunch of data, we're in the age of privacy. And so if you get in trouble, the first thing that the authorities are going to ask you is, what data do you have and how are you using it?
Yep.
If you're collecting a ton of data that you aren't using and you aren't using properly and you aren't collecting properly, you can get into some serious trouble.
Agreed. And just thinking about the interaction of that as well, right? So again, the more data you ask for, the less likelihood someone will actually complete all of those fields and actually provide all of that data. Jumping ahead a little bit to things like abandoned cart, which we'll get into here in a bit. Difficulty of checkout is one of the top 4 reasons, and top 4 reasons that people abandon checkout. It's one of the top reasons people abandon anything. It's too difficult, it's too hard, there are too many steps. I have to divulge too much before a time where I feel it's appropriate. So exactly, keep the forms nice and short, keep them simple, and make sure that the data you're collecting is data that you're actually going to use.
Or they shop like my wife shops, they use the cart as just a saving repository.
Hey, I do the same thing. It's my wish list.
Yeah, it's not, wish lists and cart can get conflated. So and we'll talk nuances in a separate discussion on cart abandon. But yeah, data is an interesting thing. So, but you have to build your list the right way. You have to build up that discoverability and then back it up.
Agreed.
With proper email.
You do have to back that up, right? The other thing you want to remember is this is the very beginning of the relationship that the brand is starting to develop with the customer. So this is where you're setting the tone for future interactions, future engagement, right?
That's a scary assumption because people will come and sign up for your site at various stages of readiness.
100%.
So even like when I was in the higher ed world, we had a welcome series that was front loaded for people that were ready to go right now, but long enough for the people that wanted to take 18 months to 2 years to make a decision.
That's a great point. You know, a single program has to support different levels of intent, different levels of knowledge, different levels of awareness. And it's far too difficult to try and orchestrate separate sort of paths or separate automations or flows for people who have those varying degrees of quality, right? It's got to be a one sort of size.
Unless you flat out ask, how soon are you willing, are you ready to make a purchase now? Or what are you looking at? But then, I mean, e-commerce world, how many people go, I'm ready to make a purchase. Let me go sign up for email and SMS to get that last 15% off, So and that's okay. People are always like, I don't want to give discounts now because what if they just do it and buy right away? Hey,
you hope they do.
They bought right away. Right?
That's the end goal. Why not move that to the very front of the engagement?
Yeah, they can't get a second purchase until they do a first purchase. So, it's not a bad thing.